This is Rosalind Hagan and Sean Leister with the Air Quality Bureau. We work in the emissions inventory section, and this video is about how to add equipment to your notice of intent. So let's begin on the Air Quality Bureau homepage, and the way to navigate to the page we're interested in is simply by clicking on Inventory. This takes you straight to the emissions page. This is the emissions page about all emissions, including the major sources. The first line, hyperlink, here's information about submitting your emissions inventory. Let's click there. This is a very important page. This is the web page that contains a lot of information for those of you submitting in 2020, the emissions inventory submittal. The picture to the right is of a cactus, and it says click here for AEIR, so you can access AEIR, which is our air emissions inventory reporting web-based tool. And if we scroll down a little bit more, we can see inventory submittal methods. The document that we're going to be working from today is the manual emissions inventory submittal instructions. And let's scroll down a bit, and we're still modifying this as we get more and more questions. We're putting them in here. So I want to show you that this is a list of the calculation methods. These are the preferred. There's several tiers. Calcatenate is more of a method which will allow you to enter the emission factor, whether it be from AP42, that's going to be the default, or from vendor or other publications. E&P tanks can also be used. It's not preferred. We prefer tanks. And Tier 3 has a couple more options. Let's scroll down a little bit more. These are the sources of the emission factors. This will help you locate them. This is information for the calculation spreadsheet requirements. So each facility must submit a spreadsheet, hopefully an Excel spreadsheet, that's what we prefer, showing the emission factor that you use, the calculation method, whether it AP42 or ProMax, the actual parameters used in the calculation, and an example calculation for each type of equipment. Up at the top, it says each piece of equipment, but that's incorrect. It's each type of equipment. Also, as recent as possible, a gas analysis and stack test results. If calculations are not submitted with your submittal, then we will reject it and ask that you attach them, please. Okay, let's scroll down. So it is very important that when you are calculating your actual emissions, that they are the actual emissions, and do not submit your permitted emissions. They are not the same. Your permitted emissions is what your facility has been permitted to emit, and those are the amounts outlined in your permit. The actual emissions are measured or calculated by using one of the methods above. And it is important to keep track of this data, the operating hours, production rates, quantities of materials processed, and so on. We'll know right away if permitted values have been submitted, and those will be rejected. And we will ask for actual emissions. Also, potential emission rate, PER, and potential to emit. These amounts should not be used in place of your actual emissions, as they are not your actual emissions. And these submittals will be rejected also if you use these. So for excess emissions, malfunctions, SSMs or startup and shutdown and maintenance should be reported for each piece of equipment if you for a notice of intent. So all SSMs and excess emissions should be entered on the piece of equipment that it emitted that pollutant. Okay. And if you have any updates to your permit, please contact permitting right away. NAICS codes, they have changed. And we have a short video on the web page discussing this. So please be aware of the NAICS codes and send us a request for support to change your NAICS code. And you can see that 21111 has changed, has split into 21112, which is crude petroleum extraction, and 21113, natural gas extraction. And there's a couple of other changes. Here's a web link to determine if your NAICS code has changed. So let's go into AEIR, and we're going to begin with creating a new piece of equipment. Now, in the previous video, we did on how to create a new submittal. So we're using the same facility. It has all the information at the top, the agency interest, the facility name, organization name, and submittal status. It should say 2020 submittal in process. So already we have created 2 pieces of equipment, but we're going to create 2 more. So I am going to begin with adding a tank. So these 3 buttons, add, modify, and remove, are the 3 buttons that you use for adding a piece of equipment, modifying it, or if you have a problem and you added something incorrectly, you can remove it and start over. If these 3 buttons do not appear for a notice of intent, please click on request support from NMED, and we will respond as soon as possible, usually within 24 hours. So let's click on add. Under general information, everything that has a red star is required. So let's call the unit designation as what you want to call it. So we're going to call it tank 1. The unit category, I know, happens to be a piece of equipment. And this will bring up a list of unit types. We scroll all the way down to tank. And for more information for unit category and unit type, refer to the guidance document on the link below. In Appendix A, we'll have a list of this information. So we are going to choose above ground tank. The description can easily be storage tank. Manufacturer we'll skip. Let's go to construction date. And any date you choose before today's date would be good, before the end of 2020. Source classification code you need to build. It has 4 levels. Let's begin with level 1. There are a few options. We know a tank is chemical evaporation. For level 2, there are 2 options here: petroleum product storage at refineries and petroleum liquid storage at non-refineries. This is, in most cases, it's going to be a non-refinery, so let's choose non-refinery. Level 3 is oil and gas, fuel storage and working tanks. as it's an above ground tank. Level 4, there is quite a list of options, so choose the one that best suits your piece of equipment. Let's just pick that. Okay, now you can see in this last box you have created your SCC. Next, stack information. If a stack doesn't already exist, which it probably doesn't, then you will need to create one for every piece of equipment. So let's create a new stack. So we're going to call this stack 1. And under type, there's several types: fugitive, vertical, horizontal. In this case, we're going to use fugitive. And the default for fugitive is 10 feet above the ground. If you choose vertical, you will see that these other boxes are now required, and you fill in that information if it's a vertical stack. But this is not a stack, it's venting, so we're going to say fugitive. Okay, so let's save that. We've created a new piece of equipment. Now it is listed here under the subject item list. So let's click on the radio button. And next we need to fill out the detail and emissions. So let's go to detail. All the information is listed there. The first question that is asked is, was this piece of equipment active anytime during the year 2020? If the answer is no, everything will be grayed out and you won't need to enter any more information. But in this case, we're going to say yes. Materials processed, we can say crude oil. Since this is a notice of intent, it runs 24/7. So hours per day, 24, days per week, 7, weeks per year, 52. And this is a leap year, but we're going to say 8760 unless we find out otherwise. 8760 ran all year, so for the percent of operation per season, we're going to put down 25%. If you have any comments for this piece of equipment, include them here. Okay, so details page has been completely filled out. Let's save it and move on to emissions. Okay, so as default, we have included on all new pieces of equipment all of the criteria pollutants, but we don't need them for a tank. So we're going to remove several of these pollutants. So let's go ahead and remove everything but VOCs, just for the sake of simplicity. And we can say that unit is not a source of this pollutant. Okay, let's enter some number, whatever the emittance are. Be mindful of the unit of measure. We only take tons per year. The calculation method must be filled out. Let's go ahead and say EPA emission factors, AP42. And as you can see, the rest of the pollutants have been grayed out, and to the right on this under status, it says removed. So let's save this. And now it is complete. So Sean, you want to work on the next piece of equipment.
That sounds good, Rosalind. Thank you for going over the tank. We are also going to add a haul road in this video. So to do so, you can click on Add as we did before for the tank. And as Rosalind said, the designation is what you call your haul road. So you can name this whatever you want. Today, we are going to call this Haul 1. Under category, haul roads are located under area. And for the type, it's located under unpaved roads. The description is to help you determine what the haul road is for. So this is the haul road around the facility. And for a construction date, as Rosalind said, you can choose any date before today's date. So I can choose that it was constructed in April 16th of 2019. The source classification code is a code that includes 4 levels. For a haul road specifically, the first level is 3 industrial processes. The second level is 10, which is oil and gas production. The third level is 888 for fugitive emissions. And the fourth level is 11 for fugitive emissions as well. This is specifically a haul road for oil and gas facilities. If you have a haul road for rock crushing or stone quarrying, your SCC will be a little bit different. Here's the completed SCC for oil and gas facility haul roads. Under stack information, as before with the tank, a haul road is a fugitive stack. So I can call this the stack for haul 1. But you can call the description anything that would help you. And as before, the height is defaulted to 10 and all the other fields are not required. So once you're done making this haul road, you can click on Save. And as Rosalind said, if at any time you want to modify the information that you just put in or remove the equipment that you just put in, you can do so by clicking the radio button next to the piece of equipment and click on Modify or Remove. But let's add in our details and emissions for this haul road at the current time. So we click on Details, and the page is similar. These supplemental parameters will change depending on the subject item that you are using. So for tanks, we had a question here, but for haul roads, this section is blank. Under the question if this equipment operated during the year, we can say yes, it did. And since this is an NOI, it operated during the entire year, so 24/7. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks in the year, and 60 hours in the entire year. For percent operation, we can say that it's the same for each season. And as before, you can enter your comments here. Once you click on Save, you'll be brought to the emissions page, where you have all your criteria pollutants and VOCs as defaults. To make this simpler, we will remove all pollutants that are not emitted by haul roads, so we can get rid of everything other than particulate matter. And under reason, we can say that the unit is not a source of this pollutant. And you'll see that all the ones that we removed have been grayed out and the status is marked as removed. To add pollutants, if you need to add additional ones, there's also this Add Pollutant button right here. Now we will just put in some random values for these pollutants since we don't actually have a haul road to calculate emissions with. And under calculation method, you have all these options as you did before when we were adding a tank. So for today, we will just choose EPA emission factors AP42 for both PM10 and PM2.5. Once you select those, all the required information is complete and you can click on Save. And as you can see here, our unpaved roads, or haul roads, are marked as complete, our tanks are marked as complete, and the 2 pieces of equipment that we had before are also marked as complete. And once you've added all your equipment, as well as all the details and emissions for each piece of equipment, you can review your submittal and submit it to us. Thank you for listening in on this video, and we hope you have a great day.